And good evening. Welcome to the public work session for Upper Gwynedd Township for June 7th, 2021. Welcome everyone. Nice to see everybody on the screen again. It's going to come to an end soon. So with that, we'll all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America
and to the
republic
for
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, Deanna for the roll call.
Liz McNaney, President.
Here.
Denise Hall, Vice President.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner.
Here.
Catherine Carter, Commissioner.
Here.
Ruth Damsker, Commissioner.
Here.
Sandra Zadell, Township Manager.
Here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager.
Here.
Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Isaac Kessler, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police.
Here.
David Burrell, Finance Director. I don't see him. Van Rieger, Zoning Officer.
Here.
All right, that's everyone. Thank you, Deanna. Next on the agenda is the announcement of executive session. Solicitor Gallagher.
Thank you, President McNaney. The board did meet in executive session on May 24th to discuss matters of litigation, and on June 7th to discuss matters of public safety, litigation, and potential litigation where no deliberation and no official action was taken.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item number 5 for public comments and concerns. Do we have anyone joining us this evening?
There's no public comment.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Township Manager Zadell. Good evening.
Thanks. Good evening, President McNaney. I just need Foster Digital to bring up my progress update, which they are. Thank you so much. So I'm glad to be getting back to a sort of normal type of manager's report. Could you guys do the next slide for me? I wanted to talk about what we've accomplished this year so far. I can't believe it's June already. It goes way too quickly. When I was thinking about what to report on, I was like, well, I could give a January to June report, but it's amazing to me that it's already June. So I wanted to talk about some of our achievements from January to June of this year. So our newly formed HRC is up and running. That's Human Relations Commission, for those that don't know my acronyms. If anyone in the township feels that someone was unfair to them and discriminatory, they can file an application with our Human Resources Commission. It's all available online. We have a wonderful group of volunteers, and it's been a really successful start. We have the Liberty Bell Trail and Power Line feasibility studies moving along really nicely. Megan and Isaac and Willard completed 14 stormwater assessments. I think it's really important to tell you that number because that's just from January to June. So that's like a little more than 2 per month, which is quite a bit. We've acquired 2 grants between January and June to improve pedestrian safety and infrastructure in the township. So one is for improved signals at 7 different crossings in the township, and the other is for the replacement of the Summingtown Pike Bridge. And in total, it's over $1.4 million of grant funding in just 6 months. We also are working on some pickleball improvements to allow for additional play. Our comp plan actually is now finished its comment period and will be coming before the Planning Commission, I think, on Wednesday of this week, and then to the board for a decision. We have completed 1 of 3 community conversations we have planned for this year. Our new soccer league was a hit this spring, and basketball registration is the highest it's ever been. I think people really missed it last year. We have some great, awesome new events, 2 of which were with the commissioners. One is the Unity for Kindness Day, which I'm sure will become an annual event now, and also our Coffee with Commissioners, where commissioners go to different places throughout the township to be there to chat with residents. And we hope you come by on January 12th to the next Coffee with Commissioners. Not January, June 12th. We hosted a really big vaccination clinic with Norgwin Pool and North Wales Borough, and 2 local pharmacies to get, I think, over 1,000 people vaccinated. That was a wonderful effort. And in the picture on the screen, you see our commissioners participating in our first tree planting for Arbor Day and Earth Day celebrations. Next slide, please. In the public safety realm, who can resist some photos of Gunner and Fury? The answer is no one. No one can resist seeing those cuties. They look so official and still so cute. So they're still completing their training. We had a successful blood drive this year, and we have another one planned for August. I hope lots of people sign up for it because the blood situation is really dire right now. We resumed DARE virtually. We continued training and de-escalation, as well as recertification and spray, baton, handcuffing, and taser trainings. We continued training regarding sensitivity and awareness regarding bias, ethnic and cultural sensitivity, mental health, and more. We also, the police department restarted the Police Athletic League activities, which I'm sure the chief is thrilled about. It's one of his favorite things. And this is one of my favorite things that the police did this year is 2 of our officers were trained in child seat installation. This is an awesome tool that the officers will have available for local parents. I'll never forget the first time my husband had to install a baby seat in the car, and you generally don't know what you're doing. So it's a great local service that will be residents can just call and request an appointment to do it, or they can visit Officer Lightheart and Hallam at our events. Next slide. And on the public works side, our road paving program began with all of the curb work. We're actually doing some work ahead for next year as well, so that we'll be in the future always having our curb and concrete work, completed before the paving. It makes for an easier project. Potholes were patched and signs were repaired all over town. Our WIP expansion at the plant is substantially complete. That's a huge big deal. So we're still working on the force main completion, which should be getting everything up and running in September. We continued our flood repairs, and Park and Rec made repairs in the snack stand and the community center. And we always do stormwater repairs throughout the township. So I think when I put it all together in this quick little 4-page list, you get to see that we've really accomplished quite a lot for our residents this year. And I'm really proud of our staff for that. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, is that all? Just kidding.
I
Holy
know.
mackerel.
I know. We have an
That's-
amazing group and a team here that gets so much done. So yeah.
And we just forget about so much of it because we just do it, and it's not, we don't think of writing lists like this, but holy cow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
And we have the new logo on your front page.
I know. I didn't even include that because that sort of fits in the comp plan, but you're totally right, Catherine. And the EAC has a new logo too. So it's been a great year for branding and marketing for the township. Okay, I think you can stop the screen share. Any other questions? If not, I will turn it over to Van for his planning and zoning report.
Thank you, Sandra and board. Couple things, those that have been on the list before, I'll summarize quickly if you stop me if you have any questions. So WB Homes, Jeffy Property made a concept presentation to the Planning Commission last month. They're going to take this month and part of next month to prepare their production drawings, the grading layout drawings for 17 townhouses, and we expect that to be reconsidered by the Planning Commission at the July meeting at the earliest. Liberty Gas, that was one of a number of zoning hearing board applications that was considered at our last hearing, which was May 25. So this was approved with a significant reduction in ask, meaning they started with 4 sign requests and they sought 1, and that 1 sign on the canopy was approved. I would add that sign package is consistent with other recent variances that have been granted for Royal Farm and Sunoco and other like installations in the township. Shops at Upper Gwynedd, that's just a status report you have before you. I understand tonight later a decision that will or may consider the Montessori school daycare as a second use and multiple use on that property. I don't need to elaborate on that. Hunter Road 222, that is a front yard variance of significant size, neighbor opposition. That was denied by the zoning hearing board also May 25th. 800 North Wales Road, Geisley Automatics. Those of you that have been around for a while, the former Pottery Works property, you might remember. They've been Geisley Automatics for about 9 years now. They needed a variance to install a concrete slab that would not be enclosed, would not be used for a building. Its purpose was to help move in and out special types of equipment that were important for their operation. They had taken 2 months of to work out considerations with the neighbors. The neighbors were generally, I would say, were supportive of the application. This was approved by the zoning hearing board, subject to the filing of a grading plan, an as-built plan, and a significant landscape plan along the boundary. Roosevelt Court is really, I think the next step will be for you all to consider the final LD. Lauren or Isaac may have something to weigh in on, but I think that's the devil in the details phase of this project. Nothing has really materially changed over the last 3 years on this application. They're just moving their way, they're inching their way to the finish line. 2816 Morris Road, you'll remember this is known as the Berg application. It's for a sober house, which is another name for a group home in Worcester. Neighbors, most particularly on Blue Fox Drive, have been notified, many of whom have issued letters. That hearing is actually tonight before the Worcester Zoning Hearing Board. I checked today with their manager, zoning officer, and that's on for tonight. They expect it to conclude tonight, although it may not. They expect it to at least occupy the lion's share of tonight's hearing before the Worcester Zoning Hearing Board. 593 DeKalb Tesla, that's the Wawa store. You've heard a lot about this. Finally, I'd like to think, you'd like to think they came to their senses and resubmitted the plan that was already approved 9 months ago. And so we processed it as a grading permit, a UNO permit, and the building permit is pending before Dan Quimby, basically to go through the electrical diagrams and things like that. Isaac had signed off on this a few months ago. So that is back in the front burner, and anytime now we may have 8 charging stations at the Wawa at Welsh Road and 202. 1 Ivy Lane, minor side yard garage expansion variance that was adjudicated and also approved last week at the May 25th, I guess 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, zoning hearing board. 2 new ones. Sorry, Deanna, I know I caught you late on this. 831 Ridgeview Drive. We try to process these for applicants and our residents in a timely fashion. And even though we have 60 days, we try to have the hearings in 3 or 4 weeks when we can. So if sometimes I'm kind of catching up on the agenda, I apologize in advance for that, but we're trying to keep things working. So Ridgeview Drive is Gwynedd Ridge. It's a 9.5 foot rear yard variance for a deck that frankly, the house was moved during the construction phase, built very close to the rear yard setback. And candidly, the applicant had little option but to seek this dimensional variance to construct, I think, any meaningful deck out the rear of their house. So that's 831 Ridgeview. Questions on that, because that might be the first time you've heard from this one. It's a first floor, it's above ground deck coming out the first floor, 6 or 8 feet above existing grade. Its closest neighbor to the rear would be the basin, open space neighbor to the rear. All the other neighbors in Gwynedd Ridge have been notified. That hearing would be June 22nd. Thank you. Hearing none. Next one, 208. That's not on your list. I apologize again. We kind of got this in late last week. 208 Croft Road, side yard variance, an undersized lot in the easterly end of the township that was constructed at a time when it was pre-R2 under a prior zoning district. Many of the lots, while very adequate in size, are non-conforming relative to side yards. An applicant requests an addition to the garage, a 2-story addition. Had it been a 1-story addition, it would have qualified under the pending text amendment, which you'll hear in a month or two. But it's a 2-story addition for a garage on the first floor and a bedroom on the second floor. So it's a side yard variance, basically. That will also be heard on June 22nd. Any additional questions on that one? Okay, thank you very
No,
much.
but I have a question for the Hunter Road, the one that was denied by the zoning hearing board.
Yes.
Why was it denied?
The board felt that given a neighbor opposition, failure to demonstrate a need for the size of the variance in the front yard, which is an unusual type of variance, Commissioner Carter, relative to side and rear yard variances, considered this to be more sensitive, and it was denied. The applicant has indicated that they will, that they would like to come back in for a lesser variance. And the neighbors have, I can't say they welcomed that, but the neighbors have preferred it was right on the 50-foot setback. They were asking for almost a 20-foot variance into the front yard. Dimensionally speaking, that's significant, and it was not commensurate with any of the adjoining lots in the neighborhood. Applicant failed to basically make their case, prove the point. Zoning hearing board, after consideration, had voted to turn it down.
And they can do that for somebody's private property?
Well, this is their application. When they invade into the township has control over all permits for new construction. But when those permits require relief from the zoning code, that relief for that is heard before the zoning hearing board. So that's one of the considerations the zoning hearing board has. They listen to it, and when an application, mostly we hear about successful applications, but not all are approved.
That's why I was asking, because I don't know if I've seen too many denied.
We don't deny many. Usually applicants take time to sort of work out the difficulties with staff and with the zoning hearing board, but this was one that didn't get worked out. So it was denied by the ZHB.
So an application is filed with the township
Yes.
and you approve it, and then it goes to
No,
the
we don't
zoning
approve
board?
it. We flag it. In simple terms, they file a plan, we flag it. We say to the applicant, we can't approve this because of whatever, because of zoning, whatever particular standard or section is violated. And the relief for that, they have a couple of options. They can amend the plan, they can withdraw the plan, or they can seek relief for their request through the zoning hearing board. So they sought the third option, which was relief from the zoning hearing board.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Van. That was a busy report tonight. Just a reminder for procedure, if the board did want to send the solicitor to object to any of the upcoming or support any, or just monitor any of the upcoming 2 applications, now would be the time to talk about that, or also at the business meeting on the 15th. Because I think Van mentioned that they're scheduled for June. Okay, Isaac, it is your engineering report.
All right, thank you, Township Manager Zadell. For this month, we wanted to highlight a few things ongoing in the township. Ms. Zadell mentioned a few of these in the first half of the year report, but a few are active. And for this month, we want to touch upon the MS4. This time of year is reaching the end of its reporting period. That goes till the end of June. So July 1st through the end of June is the annual report time period. At the end of June, you kind of finish compiling all the things that we've done throughout the year for our program, and we get that together to send into the DEP. They give you until September to get everything to them each year. One of the things that is a requirement is public presentation and education of some of the topics and things that we're doing as a township. So we'll look forward to providing that presentation at the meeting on the 15th. We'll attempt to keep it brief as far as stormwater chat goes, but at the same time, we'll want to just clarify some of the acronyms that we see pop up a lot. Folks aren't too familiar with, and also the different things that we're doing as a township that the DEP requires to show kind of where some of these efforts originate from the DEP standpoint, and what the work that we're doing throughout the township really that's improving our standing environmentally and keeping our streams clean and moving forward to meet our goals for our MS4 program. The 2021 road program is ongoing. If you've driven by Moyer Boulevard or Broad Street in that area recently, you'll notice they've completed the ADA ramp construction along those 2 stretches. They're currently doing the ramp work in the other 2 neighborhoods that are part of this year's contract, which is the Pines and Mendham Station. The paving work for Moyer and Broad will be coming up soon. So there's some pipe repair work that'll be done on Moyer. The contractor is planning to wait till that pipe work's done and then pave both streets kind of in one fell swoop. So that should be coming in the next couple weeks here. The MS4 program I talked quite a bit about. Again, that's that reporting period's finishing this month. Thanks to all the staff that really helps a lot with gathering the different pieces of information that we work on. Really a township effort to get everything we need together for that each year. And then the final thing I wanted to touch upon for tonight's workshop was those grants that we've really been keeping our eyes on and going after. We've been successful with the ones so far, and trying to keep the good mojo going with some more coming up here. One of the ones that we'll have going in this month that does not require a resolution by the board, but for Haynes Run, just kind of rounding off the funding that we're pursuing, will be the Growing Greener grant that's offered.
3 for 3. I have to say
Yes,
it, 'cause
that's
I'm
right.
scared if I don't say it that we're not going to get it. I'm very superstitious.
I'm with you. But we'll look to hopefully hear back good news from all the ones that we have coming up that are going in, and it's great to hear from Sandra on different projects that we have kind of in mind for other grants coming out as they become available. So we'll keep moving forward with those. And that grant for the intersection, that was the Monco 2040 grant that we heard successful news with, and looking forward to having those improvements for those 7 intersections in the township as well. If there's any questions on the report for this month or any other topics, I'd be happy to answer.
Isaac, I wanted to point out that the staff has been working on the 5-year capital plan, which we haven't chatted with you about yet. But one of the purposes of that 5-year capital plan will be when these grant rounds open, we can literally just look at the plan and be like, oh, there's a project ready to go, and sort of pick it off. So it really is a great planning tool that we're going to be introducing to Upper Gwynedd this year. So all of the commissioners already have their meeting dates sent to them for liaison meetings. And it's a new process that we've sort of spread out so we don't get bunched up at budget time. But I think it's really going to be a great tool. And Isaac, I'll make sure to go over that with you as well.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, no one had any other questions for Isaac? All right, just want to pause a moment and see if there's any public comment.
There's no public comment.
Okay, great. So next under item number 9 are the staff departmental reports, and I would assume that the board is good with putting these on the consent agenda. Also, items 10 and 11 will go on the consent agenda. And then excitingly, we have a couple decisions for you tonight. So President McNaney, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you for these next 2 items.
Okay. Just finish my note here. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a decision. We need to authorize Lauren Gallagher, our solicitor, to sign on behalf of the township the assessment appeal stipulation agreement between North Penn School District and ColorCon. Again, that information is highlighted in blue, so we had the opportunity to read through all that. So do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. Item number 13 is also a decision to authorize Lauren to sign on behalf of the township the assessment appeal stipulation agreement between North Penn School District and PP Station Square investors. Do we have again, it's highlighted in blue, so we had the opportunity to read more information about that. So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hull. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you, Erica. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Just a reminder, Commissioner Carter, you do need to unmute yourself for the votes so we can record that.
Aye.
Thank you. The ayes so have it. Sandra?
Sure. Thanks, President McNaney. So moving on, we have a Merck waiver request. Have we been putting these on the consent agenda? Yes. Okay. So we will put that on the consent agenda. I usually mark little C's on my agenda and sometimes I just miss it. Also, the Shops at Upper Gwynedd escrow release, I would like to put on the consent agenda. Okay. And next up, we have a discussion for us all to talk about right now, a survey regarding oversized vehicles. So as Commissioner McNaney spoke about earlier, any residents that are following along at home can click on the link and see my action memo regarding this topic, which I just need a moment to open. Okay. So there's been there have been some issues in the township where we have really large vehicles. And when I say oversized vehicles, we're talking about like 18-wheelers that could park, and currently they can park in residential neighborhoods on private property. And that we wanted to send a survey to residents to see if this is something that they feel they support, the parking of those on private property, or if it's something that they would prefer to see more regulation regarding. So I wanted to just put that out there to the board and see if you're interested in us moving in that direction. And if the survey that we've drafted is in line with what you're looking for.
I'll start, Sandra. I think a survey is a great idea. It's more than one resident who's voiced this complaint, and we absolutely want to know what the feel is throughout the whole township. So if this is an issue that many residents feel strongly about, then we will move forward and we will hopefully try to rectify it. But we really, in order to do that, we really need to know how everybody feels. So the more people that can answer this survey, the better informed we can be with that decision. If we don't feel like we are getting a good enough representation, like if we don't feel like enough people respond to the survey, we're not going to be able to do anything either way because we can only get so many people's opinions on our own. So I'm thrilled with the survey idea, and I think it could really help this problem for some of our residents.
Sandra, how are you going to get this survey out to the community?
Great question, Commissioner Damsker. We will put it in our next newsletter. We would also put it like pretty much as soon as we get it live, we can blast it out on social media, and we'll do it very similarly to the way we did the comp plan survey, which is several social media blasts. Yeah, you don't just do it once. It's really about getting it in front of people. And then it's important to note that residents can call and provide the results of the survey at the township building. They could stop by. They could do it handwritten. We just collect it all in SurveyMonkey for good analysis.
Thank you.
Right. I think that's a really great point to bring up for some of our residents who might not be the most computer literate. I often feel not very computer literate myself, let me tell you. So if someone's having trouble figuring out the survey, or that's just not their forte, you could absolutely call us. We'd be happy to take down your responses and enter it. Or like Sandra said, you could drop it off at the township building. We really want this survey to be accessible to everybody. So please don't hesitate to do that, and don't feel intimidated by the means which we're putting it out there.
So I heard from two of you, a consensus is 3 or more.
I'm fine with it as well. Yeah, I read through it, and even just when we're out and about, like we were on Saturday, although I didn't bring it up this time at the birthday party, not really good 25+1 birthday party, celebration talk. But when you run into other residents too, we could certainly direct them to come and look at it. Because I have met some new residents and just asked, hey, what do you think? So, and there's really mixed opinions. So I really hope that we hear from a lot of residents from all over the township, not just in one area, because it would be interesting to hear what people think about that. Those trucks being parked on private property like that. So thank you for putting that together, Sandra.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So at least we get the input from our residents, and we don't make unilateral decisions without having input from everybody in the township.
I agree.
Okay.
So you got
Sounds
all
like-
of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else they need me to know before we move forward with this? Because I don't believe this needs a motion or anything. I just wanted to get
okay.
direction. So we will just move forward as staff and get this rolling.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Next week, the board will be deciding on the Hartford conditional use hearing. So that's a stay tuned item for next week. In Commissioner Carter's section, item 18 is the emergency declaration dated May 31st, which hopefully will be our last one. I would love that so much. And I would like that to go to the consent agenda. Next up is an authorization to advertise ordinance 2021-02, and this is regarding the taxation for qualifying volunteers. So this proposed change and authorization to advertise would allow, I have a little.
I see a little face.
peering in.
I see a little face peering in. That's all right. He's so cute.
I'm sorry. I got totally distracted, but sometimes you have little friends that visit you when you're at a work meeting. So this would allow for the volunteers at North Penn Fire Company who reside in Upper Gwynedd Township to receive a volunteer tax credit. So currently, I mean, obviously you can only credit your taxes to people that live in the township, but sometimes they might serve for another fire company. And in this case, North Penn does serve our residents as well in the QRS capacity. So the board had asked us to prepare this. Deanna, I don't need a decision on this week, right? This will be for a decision in next week. Okay. So did anyone have any questions on it? Okay. The chief will have a commendation for Ashley Hughes next week, as well as hopefully our deputy fire marshal will be ready to ask for you to approve their hiring. We're still going through the background check process. And in Commissioner Damsker's section, there will be the approval of the Lansdale Family YMCA Run, which they're looking to hold in September, and that's been reviewed by our staff. We will also be reviewing the bid award for the heating oil, and I can just give you a little surprise information. No bids were received. So that's a big downer, considering it's a consortium bid that has several municipalities heating
Wow.
oil. It's a good contract. So we're going to have to, Lauren, just procedurally, we can put that out again, right? We have to re-advertise and redo it once more.
Correct. Yep.
So we will go through those steps and hopefully get more bidders. We will also next week have your recommendation. We'll ask you to ratify the hiring of our new Park and Rec program coordinator who did pass her background checks. And I can ask if you guys would like to do that motion now, or we can wait for it next week. I wasn't sure if she was going to make it at the time of preparing the agenda, but we do have her background checks completed.
Well, why
So
don't we
if-
pass? I think we should pass, and then she'll get on the payroll, correct?
Oh, yes. Well, yes. So do I have a motion to approve the hiring of Leah Getty as our Park and Rec?
So
program?
moved.
So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Is there any public comment on this one?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? No? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I so have it.
Great. Thanks,
Great.
everyone.
Yep.
And the next week, we'll be asking you to look at the approval of the concession stand lease with Boston Style Pizza. This is another one that's nice to see these things back on the agenda. It means life is back to normal. When we were at the birthday party at the castle on Saturday, I noticed how full the pool was. So it's just so nice to see the park bustling with like normal activity. And also next week, you'll have your first payment to Alan Myers for the road program, which is what Isaac spoke about in his report. And then Martha, one of these days, you're going to have nothing left in your section. Just kidding. There will still be stuff, but you've certainly been busy. See here, we're at payment number 19 to PACT. And then also this will be payment number 1, which I've never been so excited for a payment to Blooming Glen for the chem feed replacement. This is one of our last pieces of repairs to happen
Wow.
at the plant, and a very expensive, the temporary chemical feed is very expensive. So we're looking forward to getting this finished. Okay, and then you'll have the open and closed invoices and we'll be done. So Commissioner McNaney, I'd like to pass it back over to you.
Thank you. 40 minutes. Wow, that was pretty good. Was there any board members have anything they want to add, or Chief Duffy, anything you want to add since you're joining us tonight?
Thank you. Just a couple of things. You said you stopped by the underage drinking event. I saw Officer Lynch out there with a couple other officers Sunday. It went well. That's a grant-funded program that we have for equipment and the officers' time as well to reduce drinking and talk about the dangers of drinking in general. And said about 50 people or more than 50 people participated in that. So pretty good since it's still an early program.
I also tried those out at the station and it was very interesting. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
just in the hallway and I was having trouble walking.
Yeah, don't go near the stairs with that.
Yeah, definitely not.
we had a good softball game with community members that was sponsored with the NAACP. A lot of area police departments that the Ambler NAACP covers participated, and that was really good. Officer Lightheart, Officer Verham, and Officer Lynch were there, and they all said they want to go back again next year. The officers are claiming a sound victory in a water balloon fight with the commissioners, which they recorded on their body-worn cameras. So we have video to prove it if it's in dispute. And then I'll give you here that we decided today. We have some canine shirts, UGPD canine shirts that we created and we're selling in-house. The officers have to pay for them at no reduced rate since it's a fundraiser. And we're going to advertise those for sale to the public this week. We're a little old fashioned. We're just going to have them available at the station during business hours and collect the money there. They'll be $20 each, and we're going to make a social media post advertising the shirts this week, and we're going to see how that goes, how that's received, and if we need to order some more. I think they're pretty neat, though. I think it's going to go over well. And that's it. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for joining us. I was at the putting the goggle thing on Sunday for a little bit, and I learned so much. Like each goggle had the color strap has a different meaning as to how many drinks, it simulated. And so what I did notice about it was the seriousness that the kids walked away with, that they just couldn't believe. Oh, so that's what drinking 8 drinks would be like. Oh my. So I just want to thank everybody that was out there to see that. And I encourage the other commissioners when nobody has their cell phone turned on to come over to the township to try them out. Because it's like Sandra said, it was tough. It wasn't an easy task. Even just raising your foot up 6 inches and holding it there with these goggles on was a task. So I think we should all check that out when we have time. So thank you, Chief. Was there anything else? Any other board members wanted to add anything before we call it a night?
Can I just ask the chief one thing? Chief Duff,
Yes,
are you
ma'am.
still there? Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's a great thing that you just did, because I'm sure you're aware that an 18-year-old young man died this past weekend from drinking, and they feel that he had been drinking alcohol after the prom.
Right.
Do
It's tragic.
you
Yes.
take this? Yeah. Do you take this program to the seniors before their prom? Could you?
This year was unfortunately kind of a mess, but we're going to make it part of the program that we work with the high school every year. That we do a DUI reenactment typically before each prom, but unfortunately, this whole past year was a wash with so many things. I don't think we even got that done last spring.
Right.
But that'll be part of the DUI reenactment activities at the high school that we partner with the North Penn departments in. Yes. And Officer Lynch uses these at events where there are adults. We go to Merck, for example, is one of the places we go to. And the goggles are just as big a hit there. Of course, they're all scientists, so they're trying to figure out the science of them. But
right.
yeah.
I know, but for the high school
but
kids,
definitely, but yeah, it's definitely for high school kids. Absolutely. That's one of our target groups with this grant and this equipment and this training. As you know, it wasn't just Officer Lynch, it was Officer Moriarty and Young, and they've all had training in how to administer this program and try to reach out to as many people as possible. It's a good question. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Officer Lynch did mention that they have a busy schedule with that
Yep.
trailer, taking it to lots of different places and activities coming up. So it was between that and the dogs, I'll tell you, the police department is really rocking all the cool toys now.
We're having fun. We're never gonna beat the fire department, but we're having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So with that, again, thank you, Chief. Anything else? All right. Meeting adjourned. Everybody have a good night.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.